Good morning, warriors. Welcome to the You Movement. I am B. Today's a bit of a catch-up to let you know what energy I'm in, and maybe you are experiencing some of these same things as well. I've said all the way along this journey that healing is up, down, and all around. The mental image that I got in my mind's eye this morning was that of swimming. And I used to go swimming a lot as a child, and in a lake, and you hold your breath and you go deep dive down to the bottom. I used to collect little clams, and then get to the top. And that's what this awakening journey is like, is you're on the surface for a while and it's like, oh yeah, this feels good, and then whoa, down you go again into the depths, into the muck to unfuck. And so much has been coming up all at the same time. It's a little bit crazy, because when you are going through a healing journey or an awakening path, normally you want to kind of deal with one thing at a time. But as you dive down, as Kundalini brings you down into the depths of feeling, what you are presented with is oftentimes facing multiple things at the same time. And that's what's been going on for me, is a lot of triggers in my exterior realm presenting all at the same time, and bringing up all kinds of new levels of awarenesses. One of those levels of awareness is what I call fine-tuning. And whenever you have any energy that is in any of your chakras out of balance, and you're working towards bringing it into balance, it's like a pendulum that swings this way and that way and this way until it slowly steadies itself into neutrality, into alignment. But it takes a little bit of too much, not enough, too much, not enough. And one of the things that I've been noticing on this particular round of fun times is the perfection paradigm of thinking that if I'm not living my life in the ideals, and this is a complex post-traumatic stress disorder symptom that is derived from a lot of childhood trauma. Many people probably resonate with this energy as well, that if you don't feel like you've got your life completely and utterly in a state of perfection, everything organized, everything on time, everything doing, then you're on the opposite end of the spectrum, with that being a failure in some way. And no person can be perfect. There is no question. But when you are raised by a narcissistic parent who is continually telling you that you're screwing up, that you're not enough, that you're in that scapegoat role where all of the family stuff is placed upon you as the problem, the quest for perfection becomes an inbuilt program. Because if I can just get a little bit more perfect, if I can just do it a little bit more better, if I can just, then maybe, I'll get that breadcrumb, I'll get that reward, I'll get that sentence that you're constantly craving. And interestingly enough, I came across an amazing affirmations track on YouTube. I love my affirmations, and this one was designed to parent the inner child. Now, normally I do my own tracks to parent my inner child, but since it came up and was recommended, I was like, oh yeah, I'll listen to this, why not? And in listening to it, it was very illuminating to me, because all of the sentences that were being said, I love you just as you are. Even if you make mistakes, I still love you. You are valuable. You are so precious. All these beautiful sentences that you would expect a mother to say to their child. I realized in listening to it that actually I had not heard any of those sentences. And I became in that moment aware of how detrimental to our inner child and our growth as people, our spiritual maturation, it is to have an absence of energy. So when we think of trauma, oftentimes we think of it as, these bad things happened to me. But we don't necessarily think of it as these good things didn't happen to me. The absence of, the lack of safety, the lack of support, the lack of care, the lack of empathy, the lack. And so when there is a lack, we develop a lack of energy within us in any of our 7 chakras. And when there is a lack, we then overcompensate. So that's where that pendulum comes in to swing back and forth of not feeling good enough, feeling like a failure. If I can just make myself more perfect, then I won't be a failure anymore. Then I'll be loved. Then I'll get all of those things that are lacking. So this quest to obtain or get what's missing. And when we don't get that, because it's faulty thinking, it's a faulty program, because the child absorbs the lack as something within them when the lack is actually something outside of them. And so nothing that they can do is ever going to provide that lack. You can't make somebody else have compassion for you if they lack compassion. You can't make somebody else love you if they lack the capacity to love unconditionally. But the child mind doesn't understand that. The child immediately goes into a cycle of, I can control this somehow. If only I did this differently, or if I only showed up that way, then maybe I can get what I want. And so the ego develops a very strong persona of this perfectionist. And this one has reared its ugly head for me a couple of times, because I wouldn't have thought, I was in such denial about that energy in play. I wouldn't have considered myself to be a perfectionist, by no means. But now, as more of this muck, all the shadow stuff comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, that's not good. Yeah, that is that's not a good energy that I want to pass on. And even my grown son said to me, you always make me feel like I need to be perfect. And I was like, what? I how is this at play? And that's the point is a lot of these shadow aspects of self are at play in our unconscious. We are not consciously aware of them. And so in trying to be perfect as a means to try not to be a failure, so this pendulum is swinging back and forth. And, as it does, those old thought patterns come up and resurface again. And you hear the inner critic going, you're failing at this, you're failing at that. And you're caught in this cycle as you're being pulled down into the depths, and you need to breathe through it. And you can see how multiple things are at play and how interconnected it is to your sense of control over the world. And as I talked about, I think in my last video, about learning to be in presence, learning to be in flow with spirit, is also this pendulum that swings back and forth, bringing you into the past as well as the present, the future, until you can slowly work yourself into the now. And for those of us that have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, the past is all about ruminating into all of the failures in this case, or all of the things that you aren't successful at, and then all of those. So you're ruminating over all of interactions with people and situations that you've had, and you go through this process where the inner critic can just thrive and pick yourself apart. And then you swing into anxiousness, anticipatory anxiousness of well, what's the future gonna look like? Can I do this? And on this awakening journey, we're pulled away from any types of security. A lot of things are ripped away from us, career was ripped away from me, and or jobs, and I'm still in a process of rebuilding, and my housing situation is in a state of still this no man's land, this void of, am I coming, am I going, where am I, what's happening legally? It's legal situations take a very long period of time, and so this was all, I understand this was all divinely orchestrated to get me to be triggered over and over and over again, so that I can get into presence and let go of control, because ultimately we have control over very little. Sure, we can show up in the moment and do something in the moment, which is what Spirit is trying to teach us, but we can't control the future outcomes of a lot of things. And so on this awakening, as relationship disintegrates, and jobs disintegrate, and your home situation disintegrates, all those faux senses of safety and security and control, well, if I just have the perfect life and the perfect house and the perfect marriage and the perfect this, then I've got control over it, says ego. And soul's like, yeah, no, I'm going to rip all of these faux perfections and faux beliefs about control out from underneath you, so that you can learn multiple lessons. You can learn that nobody is perfect, and you have to accept see your shadows and see your imperfections, and nobody can control the future. So any predicting and attempt to control the outcome of something has to be let go of, and you need to surrender to the present moment. And as I've said, when you have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, that's very difficult, because your mental patterns over the years have been in this state of predictability and catastrophizing, seeing the worst case scenario, preparing for things. So always kind of in that stance of readiness for what's coming next, and white knuckling it. And so we have to learn all these new ways of coping, and these new ways of cultivating faith, cultivating trust, cultivating belief, cultivating peace in the present moment, cultivating letting go and releasing control, and letting go of things that aren't working for us in our highest and greatest good, and letting go of the past programming that comes along with that. So I did a while back cognitive behavioral therapy, which talks a lot about those mental distortions, those ways of thinking that have become maladaptive because they were coping mechanisms. And I've talked a lot about in many of my videos how, on this awakening path, when you adjust something in one realm, they're all going to be affected. So as you're doing the physical work as well as the spiritual work, the emotions begin to surface in this awakening process, and to be released, because emotions are energy in motion. And as those are being released, it triggers as well all of the mental chatter, the inner critic, the limiting beliefs, the cognitive distortions. And so you are now healing things on multiple levels all at the same time, which can be exceptionally overwhelming. And that's what it all, because it's all interconnected in the shadow as well as the light. This mind, emotion, body, spirit connection plays out not only in the light energy, it plays out in the shadow energies. So when something is surfacing on the physical, and you're clearing out in heart chakra or root chakra or anything else, emotions are coming up at the same time, and you can be having more than one emotion at the same time because they're interconnected. So it's could be a feeling of failure and a fear of the future, a fear of the unknown, and that's what's been playing out for me, of like both of these fears at the same time. And then the cognitive thinking of the thoughts, the inner critics, like, you're a failure, you can't do this, and you're like, hey, wait a second, we've dealt with this one before, we're turning to this and sit down and I made a list of all the things that I've successfully done, so even during this awakening process. So don't tell me falsities, and this voice in the head is saying, you better prepare for catastrophe, this is all going to go to shit. And you're like, shh, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. All we can control right now is the here and now. So this Kundalini awakening, this spiritual awakening that you might be experiencing, is hitting you in so many places all at the same time, which is very overwhelming. And so that's where I've been for the last couple of days, is back down into the muck, and trying to like get that pendulum to come back into a place of balance and restored alignment, so that there can be, so you can let go. And it's letting go of false beliefs, letting go of that critical interpretation, letting go of the past, letting go of the future, letting go of old behaviors that you used to perhaps connect in and tie in. So it is all interconnected. You think a certain way, you feel a certain way, you feel a certain way, you behave a certain way. And so it changes. When you change your behaviors and change your actions, and start living in sobriety, and that's going to affect the emotions that are going to come up, which is then going to affect the thinking that's going to come up, which is then going to affect your conscious awareness and spiritual enlightenment on this path. So I wanted to hop on and just share with you a little bit about how tumultuous this awakening path can be. And I wrote something this morning that I'm going to share with you now, called Take a Breath. Take a breath and go deep. Swim to the depths. There is pain. There is fear. Panic sets in. I wish I was on the surface, you hear your thoughts say, but you've been pulled down deeper into the muck to unfuck. There is only surrender. You've done it before. Your heart burns. The desire to do anything but feel. For a moment you forget how to do it. An ego tries to convince you there's something seriously wrong. You find all of your tools and place your hands to the pain, reminding yourself everything is going to be okay. You breathe through the panic. You breathe through the pain. You breathe through the fears that you might be going insane. You breathe through the grief and all of the loss. You breathe through the chunk of identity about to be lost. You breathe through it all. That's all you can do. You pray Kundalini knows what to do. 3 years and still moving, purging all of the wounds. The energy relentlessly pushing it out. The traumas all surface, the shadows exposed. All the things you desperately wanted to hide, the perfectionism, the controlling, the fears, and the masks, all brought to the surface, no longer locked deep inside. Awakenings don't feel very fair, as Shakti moves through you without giving a care. It's all got to go. That is the cost. The pathway to freedom is feeling it all. The pathway to freedom is releasing the pain. So breathe through each moment again and again. I hope you liked that. It offered me a little bit of comfort anyways. So to anyone out there that's struggling through any of the releases on any of these realms, the physical sensations that you may be experiencing, the emotions that are beginning to surface and be released from this lifetime and past lifetimes, a lot comes to light. The mental, new levels of awarenesses of some of your shadows, some of the inner critic, some of the cognitive distortions, the limiting beliefs about self, and reprogramming that, and some of the spiritual stuff that may be coming into new levels of awareness for you as you go through this awakening process. I am here to assist you on your path in any way I can. You can book a one-on-one Zoom call with me, or an oracle read with me, or book a distance healing. And the way to do that is in the description below. Send me off an email to justbebeing@gmail.com. My services all are donation based, so there's 3 price points to make it obtainable within your price points. Something that you can afford, that's not going to financially put you in hardship, because that's the last thing you need, as I fully understand the worries about that on these awakening paths. I want to thank you again for all of the likes, the shares, the subscriptions, the growth of the channel, and those that follow me. I greatly appreciate it. It's really kept me going a lot of the time, is knowing that through my experiences on this crazy Kundalini awakening, I'm able to turn around and offer some tools, strategies, and tips to others to assist them through their awakening. And I'm sending you my very, very most love out there to anyone that is struggling with anything, any part of this process. And with that said, lots of peace. Out.